applies a moral obligation. The resolution posits a hypothetical question about what system is preferable to treat juveniles. So the action seeks to prove that juveniles charged with violent felonies have to treat the same as adults in the criminal justice system. Moreover, general statements are upheld to prove true and balance. For example, statement I like science more than math, juvenile A chemistry than love geometry. Humans have both subjective and objective interests which influence the action they take. Round 1 writes. Consider the notion of subjective interest. To take a subjective interest is something to say that in an ordinary circumstance it excites a positive attitude in me. Subjective interest supervene upon primary qualities of the receiver so that this objective's context will incite this sensation. Objective notion explains subjective interest, but subjective interests have insufficient normative force to capture desirableness. My subjective interests frequently reflect ignorance. The fact that I am now so constituted that I desire something which had I better knowledge of it, I would not have desired to sought. Does the notion of the objectified subjective interest for an individual A as follows. Give to individual A full factual information about his physical and psychological constitution. A will become A plus with complete knowledge of himself and whose rationality is in no way defective. We now ask A plus what he would want his non-idealized self A to want. Subjective interest and objective interest interact by wants interest mechanism. The results of acting on subjective interest influence our future actions so that the subjective and objective interest begin to converge. Railton 2 writes. The correlation between acting on motives that congruent with one's interest in achieving a degree of satisfaction plays an explanatory role in the evolution of one's desire. Consider what I call the wants interest mechanism, which permits individuals to achieve self-conscious and self-unconscious learning about their desires and interests through experience. Trial and error leads to selective retention of wants that are satisfiable and leads to satisfactory results for the agent. Normativity is therefore derived from the feedback between subjective interest and results of acting on these desires. Since moral desires supervene upon non-moral properties and wants interest mechanisms basis of morality because it provides agents with objective means follow obligations. And the judge can vote for arguments that based on text resolution because judges' jurisdiction is limited to affirmative negating when citing the valid. In society, social rationality takes into consideration the interests of all its members. The relationship between subjective and objective interests found in individuals therefore also applies to the same. Round 3 writes. The notion of social rationality is derived by considering what would be rationally approved of all the interests of all individuals counted equally in the circumstances of all full information. The interest in question will be the objective interest. This idealization is equivalent to what is the rational from a social point of view. It is recognized as a criterion of moral rightness. Relative moral rightness is a matter of relative degree of approximation of this criterion. Thus, moral rightness is derived from social rationality. Objective morality is based on what all members of society would have reason to follow. In societies, feedback comes from social resistance to oppressive institutions. Realm 4 writes. Just as an individual who discounts his interests will be liable to certain sort of dissatisfaction, so will social arrangement. For example, social hierarchy that departs from social rationality by significantly discounting the interests of a particular group and the dissatisfaction of unrest. Social circumstances favor the realization of this potential for unrest, for example, by providing members of the group with experiences that make them more likely to develop interest, congruent wants, by weakening the repressive apparatus, by giving them access to new resources, by dispelling the illusion that change itself impossible. One can expect potential for unrest to manifest itself. Thus, morality in society is based around the feedback mechanism between state policy and people whose interests those policies divert. However, when there are asymmetrical power relationship, feedback is interrupted, which undermines the wants interest mechanism within society. Realm 5 explains. We should expect to see greater approximation in the areas of normative regulation where the mechanisms policy work best, for example, in areas where almost everyone has substantial potential to infringe upon the interests of others, and where individuals can significantly influence the likelihood of norm-based following on the part of others about themselves following norms. The clearest examples have to do with prohibitions against aggression. By contrast, moral questions that concern matters where there exists very large asymmetries in power and the capacity to infringe upon interests are less likely to achieve stable or such earlier stable approximations to social rationality. Clear examples have to do with such matters as social hierarchy. That's why stands preserving social rationality defined as removing institutions that obscure the feedback between states and individuals. Prefer the standard for 3 reasons. 1. Other objective theories make moral prescriptions that collapse into tautologies. You're right. When we make normative judgments such as X is good, we come up with the question of is X good? So the question is X good can never be close to the same that is an unmarried male a bachelor can because the semantic meaning of X, which can never be the same as good. Therefore, good can only be defined by the use of other normative notions. If the judgment X is good becomes good as good, which is tautology. Tautological ethics fail because they can never stand reflective scrutiny as they can never independently explain why an action is good, preserving the feedback between states and individuals. Also, tautology inherent to alternative moral theories. First, realm has motivational force. When someone's objective interest don't match their objective interest, the negative outcomes from acting with their subjective interest motivates them to shape their desires more closely resemble their objective interest. Thus, it externally motivates action without requiring agents to understand why they have moral obligations. Second, he provides an explanatory account for the development of a person's good, which avoids the tautology by describing the evaluative process for understanding society's values. Second, my standard is based on presumable obligations since the wants interest mechanism to directly respond to the outcomes of actions desires of an agent. Other ethical theories, however, cannot demonstrate the tangible effects of breaking moral obligations, which undermines the normative forces agents don't see the distinction between following and ignoring obligations. And presuming adverbs and offense necessary to countering empirically verified negative skew and structural time advantage, you prefer fair interpretation as debated in adversarial activity, and any skew of fair burdens prevents a truthful evaluation of the resolution. I contend that the juvenile justice system harms social rationality by destroying the feedback between the state and juveniles who are charged with committing violent felonies. First, the states hold the asymmetrical power in the juvenile justice system as is designed to coerce minors. However, this force has become entrenched, preventing juveniles from resisting states' exercise power. Federally explains. The states manipulate the concepts of childhood and adulthood to maximize social control of young people. Whether the juvenile court really had a social function is debatable. From its inception, the focus of the juvenile court has been on children. The poorest focus was supported by a belief that these children could be subject to different levels of state coercion simply because of their poverty. Consequently, these children and families were subject to state coercion. Abolition of the juvenile court was a structural impediment, enabling us to see more clearly the state's use of coercive power while permitting us to question challenge states' exercise of power. The problem is that the use of power is often masked by bureaucratization and routinization. The exercise of that power becomes so routine that it is invisible to those in the institution. We unmask the social control function of the juvenile court, turning minus the criminal court. Thus enables us to re-examine the function of the criminal court and critically appraise the state's use of coercion and violence in the criminal justice system. Thus, the JJS destroys feedback through routinized oppression of minors, and the distinction between adults and juveniles based on state manipulation. Those are arbitrary and has no morally relevant basis. Second, there is no way to determine if a ruling is improper because judges are required to articulate the reason for the decision. Ainsworth. In a jury trial, juries must be explicitly instructed that the laws applied in the case by a trial jury through written jury instructions. Any other law can be later reviewed by an appellate court. However, when a judge sits without a jury, she need not expressly articulate her understanding of the law. Therefore, the appellate court has no way of determining whether the juvenile court judge misunderstood or misapplied the law to the juvenile's detriment. Thus, the JJS limits feedback by failing to articulate legal reasoning. Finally, the informality of the juvenile justice permits juvenile officials to punish juvenile charged with violent felonies without filing a formal court petition. Therefore, juveniles are arbitrarily punished without going through court proceedings. Simpson concludes. Juvenile court officials have discretion to settle juvenile cases informally at a number of points in juvenile process, thus losing not report all offenders in about half the cases in which they do take official action or close out a complaint being filed in the juvenile court. When a complaint is filed in the juvenile court, an intake unit screens to decide whether to file a formal petition in court. If no petition is filed because of judgment that the official action not have been in the youth's best interest, the case may be handled beneficially through informal probation. There are serious problems in the informal handling of cases. Of particular concern are criteria for intake disposition, criteria for deciding whether formal adjudication is in the best interest of the child are not specified in most statutes, and most juvenile courts do not provide written guidelines. Social factors such as the offender's family situation and the attitude of the juvenile and parents towards authority in the offense may also be considered. Thus, the JJS systematically signs that juveniles from resisting state coercion. Finally, the sufficient act burdens prove the resolution principle for three reasons. One, principles of morality are clearly to default in favor of punishment over rehabilitation. Punishment established in morality pertinent society by judging action putting punishment general benefit morality established in normally abiding force. Two, we should not assume that there are moral distinctions between persons unless there's a corrective reason to do so. The natural recourse in the event that state cannot pause an obligation to do all people the same, and they cannot judge an individual for being more morally blameworthy than another. And finally, if an action is morally permissible, then that means that the ethical failure fails. If an action doesn't tell us how to act, we have to act in a way that would be a natural recourse, which would be treat them all the same. All right. Do you want the rest of the case?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright. Sorry. Why is the judge confined to the text of the resolution? What is the internal norm within the AC?
The argument is that at the end of the day, the judge has to sign the ballot AF or neg, and the text of the resolution is how we determine which ground is AF ground or neg ground.
I'm coming into this round. You know, there are judges that dislike me. There are individuals that dislike me. How is the round inherently fair?
I like you, Jalon. I think that Rebar probably likes you.
Oh, you
I don't think
definitely
this
don't
is
like
a fair
me.
round.
Trust me. You definitely do not like me.
No, I like you a lot, Jalon. I've seen a lot of your rounds. You're an
I'm not
incredibly
worried
impressive
about
debater.
you. I'm worried about the judge, right? How do I not know the judge?
I mean, when I said that Rebar probably liked you, Rebar was nodding his head yes, so I assumed that Rebar probably would make a pretty fair evaluation of the round.
How, like, do things that happen outside of the round implicate or have implications to what happens in round?
Potentially. I'm not sure. You'll have to make that argument.
Wait, what do you mean potentially? Sounds like a yes to me.
It's not a yes. You have to be making those kinds of theory implications. I'm not going to make them for you.
What does potentially mean, right? Like, doesn't that lean or err yes?
I mean,
it's
maybe.
definitely not a no.
I don't know. I don't think it leans or errs yes. I'm saying that it is not, like physically impossible that perhaps some judges are biased against you.
Why do you dehumanize the discussion?
How do I dehumanize a discussion?
Because you say we talk about the resolution in the hypothetical. You're not talking about the bodies that are going through these systems you advocate.
I'm talking about juveniles who are being harmed. My argument,
what type of juveniles?
The hypothetical question argument
juveniles?
was merely just so I could intrinsically perm any NC that people try to run against me. That's not an argument saying that my arguments are not specific to juveniles.
Where do you say that in the text of the AC?
Where do I say what?
Like
that's like an intrinsic perm spike?
No, as in you are taking into account the races and geographies and sexualities of the juveniles that go through your system.
Oh, of course. So, in Ainsworth talks about the origins of the juvenile justice system and how it was actually based.
Answer my question.
No, it will. Don't worry.
At the top. No, I'm talking about the argument specifically at the top that says the resolution it will be framed from a hypothetical point of view.
Wait, are you asking me where in case I talk about oppression of actual people? That was my reading.
I'm talking about these specific types of people, right? Like you're not humanizing the discussion.
Okay, so is your question, where do I talk about specific groups of people in the AC?
No, it's all right. We can move on. Let's go specifically to the arguments in the case, specifically the Ainsworth analysis, which talks about judges not having to give or display their just jurisdictions. If I read the evidence correctly, it says they don't have to give their credentials for knowledge of the law. Where does it say they don't have to justify their decision?
Wait a minute. No, that's not what the Ainsworth evidence says. What Ainsworth said is that the judges, in jury trial, the jurors are given explicitly written instructions by the judge.
Is it okay to endorse oppression?
Is it okay to endorse oppression? I mean, my framework says that it is not constrained to oppression good or oppression bad.
Is it okay for you to endorse oppression?
I mean, you'll have to read a framework one way or another.
Why can't you just answer the question?
Because, I mean, I'm trying to win the round. I'm not going to try to give you links into a special
I don't
argument.
answer your questions in CX. Don't have to get a reaction.
Okay.
Sorry, Fred.